reporting of crime is so high. It's kind of easily accessed information, and it gets people's attention. And so, some media outlets really use that a lot. So their outlook on the world is a little skewed if they take that as their only source without doing any digging. But then you have the other people that listen to a lot of opinion and are absorbing a lot of punditry. And being able to at least, I think the best quote I've seen in the material that I've gathered that I use is that it's not about memorizing a bunch of information about media literacy, it's learning how to ask the most important questions. You're learning how to ask the right questions. And so the one thing that I try to hammer home is the first thing you have to ask is who wrote it, and find out why they wrote it, and go from there. So
like the same questions that we're asking as journalists,
right.
You're asking our readers to ask those same questions to make sure,
right.
Especially the access of like what they call citizen journalism now is, everybody. I know,
yeah.
I know.
Which is really good because that
right.
ties into what's happened with Jesse in citizen
And it's
journalism.
not even a big problem in Port Angeles. What we got here is we got Facebook groups where people, I heard this from so-and-so, I think my source is reliable.
The real news on the peninsula?
Yeah, and then they're like, why would I read the newspaper when I'm getting the news on Facebook? I know what's going on. Well, more often than not, they get it wrong, or, there's some sort of inaccuracy. The problem we have in Fort Dodge is we actually have, this happens all over Iowa, is we have young people who think they're journalists starting like Facebook pages or blogs and, just chasing flashing lights basically. They get a photo of the fire department every time they go do something, or if the police respond to an accident, or, they're for everything, and because it's free, people think just because there's flashing lights, that's all that news is.
Right.
And they, don't tell you what the city council is doing, what the school district's doing, or any other enterprising stories that are out there. Instead, they're putting out like 2-inch stories about, so-and-so ran into a pole.
Well, that's got its safety.
Right.
If so-and-so really did.
But the problem is, because it's free, that's where people think they should be looking for news, because they don't want to pay us for what someone else is already doing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So their Facebook presence, they have like twice as many likes as us, and we're an actual newspaper. This is a high school kid taking terrible photos and putting 2-inch stories up.
And he's got more likes than you guys.
Yeah.
Well, even more reason for a level of media literacy, because we're also in the era where we have to watchdog the watchdogs.
Right.
Because with any amount of information that's out there, there's also just about 10 times more crud.
Right, the amount that people are consuming of what they call, news because they saw it on social media is amazing and baffling. But that's not to say that there's no value in citizen journalism. Especially
if it's done well.
Right, but especially...
But who's going to say? Their critics are the people that disagree with them and post up, well, you're full of shit. Or all the others that want to believe it and repost it and repost it and repost it.
But as journalists, we can take citizen journalism, especially, that are valued. Like, for instance, people in the Middle East that are doing citizen journalism, and we're getting videos and photos, things that we don't have access to, and it's our job to vet it and make sure that it's reliable and it's actually what it says it is, and we can work that. But it definitely causes a huge problem. Like the Real News on the Peninsula is one here, where there's no real news on the peninsula in that group, and I've tried to leave it 3 times, and I've been added back to it 3 times, and I'm like, please just leave me alone. You have no idea what you're talking about. But there's some value, if nothing else, you take from citizen journalists what they want to know about, and we have to find a way to give it to them. This is what they're looking for, and we just have to find a way to present it to them in a way that they're willing to eat it up.